So Trent Smallwood not with us here. I am Blaine Gilmer here with Jed May on Rumors versus Facts. We were literally right at the beginning of this show. Here's the thing about going live. Anything can happen. And Jed, can you hear me?
There we go. We're back now.
Sorry, we have difficulties, guys. Let's start all this over again. UGASports Rumors versus Facts. I am Blaine Gilmer here with Jed May. We'll have Trent Smallwood here on with us in a little bit. Something happened. We don't know. Trent was here, and all of a sudden he froze up right when we were about to go live, and he's gone. And I think we're going to bring him on here. So hold on just one second. There he is, Trent Smallwood back with it. Trent, what happened, man? Oh, no. He's gone again.
The news is coming in too hot and heavy for the Rumors versus Facts technical team to keep up.
Jeez, sorry about this, guys, watching live. All right, we're just going to have to take Trent out of there and go with us, the two of us. So, anyways, we're here on Rumors versus Facts, and Georgia just got a big commitment, Jed, from Monroe Freeling. Rivals 250 lineman Stacy Searles picks him up after recruiting him hard when he was at North Carolina. And that's a big pickup for Georgia to kind of start off this show here. Right before we get going, Monroe Freeling gives us a topic to talk about.
Yeah, I'm actually his video of his commitment ceremony is on Twitter right now. It looks like he had an American flag with a Georgia flag wrapped up in it. And he took the American flag off and started waving the Georgia flag around. But yeah, I mean, it's a huge pickup. We've talked about offensive line has been a topic on this show for weeks. And Monroe Freeling has kind of been that X factor guy where this class can kind of go in two different directions depending on what happens with him. And obviously he's on board now. So you look at this offensive line class after all the hand wringing, and Monroe Freeling's a Rivals 250 guy. Bo Hewley's a 250 guy. KJ Smith very easily could end up being a 250 guy by the time his senior season's over. And then you got Joshua Miller, who's got plenty of versatility and talent as well. So, yeah, I mean, just there's obviously been other commits recently, right? But I think given where the offensive line recruiting has been, this is one of the bigger pickups for Georgia in a few months. It feels like just kind of stabilize that offensive line class.
It seems like some much needed momentum. And speaking of much needed momentum, let's try one more time to add Trent Smallwood into things. Trent, are you with us?
I think so. I don't know what's happening, but I'm here.
Man, that Wi-Fi down in Flowery Branch is giving us trouble today. I don't know what's going on, but no, we are here on UGASports Rumors versus Facts. The screen looks a little bit different look on the show tonight, and that's because we now have a sponsor, gentlemen. We're moving up in the world. We got Auto Owners Insurance with the Turner Wood and Smith Insurance Agency. I can speak personally on these guys because my wife's windshield, I had a crack in it this morning. We found out we got to get the whole windshield replaced. I called up Trey Wood at Turner Wood and Smith. He fixed me up. Going to get that thing replaced on Friday and pay just a very, very small deductible. So I can speak from experience. Turner Wood and Smith is a great insurance agency, and they are the sponsor of UGASports Rumors versus Facts. Auto Owners Insurance is one of the terrific agency policy holders that they have. Both have been around for over 100 years, guys. So you're getting some tried and true tested insurance here. So Turner Wood and Smith, call them today in Gainesville, Georgia, but they do business with anybody all over the state. So UGASports Rumors versus Facts presented by Auto Owners Insurance and Turner Wood and Smith Insurance. So Trent, I'm sure you know Trey Wood and some of those guys at Turner Wood and Smith.
Oh yeah, good guys. I mean, give them a try. I know that there's a good group of guys with a good product, and thankful they're sponsoring the show.
Yeah, it's good stuff right here. So now that we got the housekeeping taken out of the way there, we can get back to Monroe Freeling. Jed was just talking about how big of a pickup that was before you kind of came back here with us, Trent. So from your perspective, a guy who's 6'7", a little bit leaner than Georgia typically takes offensive linemen, but Is this just more so of a projection thing of what Monroe Freeling could be and could look like? He's talented, but what he could be and could look like physically being inside that Georgia strength and conditioning program?
Oh, definitely. I mean, he's got all the tools to be good. And offensive line is a tough position to project when for the next level, just because you don't know how the body's going to develop and stuff. But he's definitely a 6'7". He's got the size. He needs to add a little weight. But this was a guy that Georgia's missed on several top offensive line targets, and this was important for Stacey Searles just for the fact that he needed to land a top tier offensive lineman in this class, and he went out and did just that with Freeling.
Absolutely. Jed, who may be next? I got to plug in my computer real quick, or we're about to die on this thing. So who might be next at offensive line for Georgia, or are they done this?
Yeah, I think I could see them taking just these 4. You look at Bo Hewley, they're still we talked about him potentially flipping a few weeks ago. It looks like that momentum with Auburn has cooled off. They're still going to be trying to keep him in the class, obviously. And then they're going to be going after those 5-star guys, TJ Shanahan and Samson Okunlola. Doesn't appear to be a ton of traction there right now. I'd probably say there's maybe a little bit better chance with Okunlola than Shanahan at this point, maybe. But yeah, I mean, I think if Georgia got to signing day and signed these 4 guys, then they'd be happy with that. But they're definitely going to keep recruiting some of these guys and see if they can take another one as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that when it comes down to it, you're really looking at offensive line as well as running back as being 2 of the positions that I think Georgia could pursue most heavily in the transfer portal after this season. Because Von Granger, he's eligible to go in the draft after this year, right? Is he his only second year? I can't remember how many years he's been there now, but he's a very talented guy. Even if it's 1 or 2 years, you're going to have somebody eventually step up at the center position. You're going to lose some tackles after this year with McClendon and Jones probably going on to the next level. I know Amarius Mims is there waiting in the wings, but you can never have too much depth, and Georgia's likely to go out and add that depth to the transfer portal this offseason instead of that's one position that Trent, that Kirby does not like to rely on true freshmen is offensive line.
No, definitely. He likes, he has done it in the past with the ultra talented players, the Andrew Thomas guys of the world, but he doesn't like plugging freshmen in there. And it took, last year, Broderick Jones as a redshirt freshman took all the way to the basically the last couple games to start seeing a heavy dose of playing time, and that's really paid off for him going into this year. But it's usually the end of the second towards the third year is when he likely likes to get those guys to start contributing heavily. But I think if you was to lose a bunch of guys in after this year, you could see a lot more younger guys playing on the offensive line next year than Kirby's accustomed to.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jed, I know we're going to deviate a little bit from recruiting here into the current team, but he talked about today a guy like a Devin Willock Kirby talked about in competition, and even Tate Ratledge. Neither one of them have really played a whole lot for Georgia, but that just shows that how much that depth and having quality guys like that, because they're competing. I think the other people, Warren Erickson, competing there as well, Xavier Truss. So a lot of depth there at the guard position, and I think that's a key for Georgia and why they've been so successful on the offensive line for several years.
Yeah, and you throw Jared Wilson and Micah Morris and Austin Blasky into the mix there too. And it's like you said, you can never have enough depth. There's always linemen getting dinged up, right? You get rolled up on, you get stepped on, whatever. So yeah, you try to bring in. I mean, that's why they try to take 4 or 5 guys every year. And you look at last year's class, they had a certified stud, right, in Ernest Green. And then you look at some of these other guys like Jacob Hood's maybe more of a developmental type guy. Same for Alou Bob, maybe Griffin Scroggs, Drew Bobo. So they needed a little bit more, not necessarily college ready, but a few more higher end guys this year. And you look at Hewley and Freeling, 2 guys, like you said, Trent, they both need to add a little bit of weight, I think, but they definitely got all the tools, the size, that kind of thing to be impact college football tackles down the line.
Yeah, I think
Absolutely.
I think everybody's and the offensive line. I kind of look at everybody being a project coming into in college, especially for Georgia. A lot of people do play younger guys, and they kind of go with the growing pains. But I think coming into like a system like Georgia's, the way they like to use offensive linemen, I think every offensive lineman coming in is a project. Now, who develops, who is able to put on the weight, sustain the grind, and stuff like that is some of the guys get on the field faster than the others. But I think it is a developmental position at Georgia in particular.
Absolutely. UGA Sports Rumors versus Facts, presented by Auto Owners Insurance and Turner Wood & Smith. We're breaking down the Monroe Freeling commitment and also looking forward to in-season recruiting. So we've talked about Monroe Freeling. That's a huge get for Georgia. And now, Jed and Trent, it kind of starts Georgia's sweet spot in recruiting, right? They're really, really good at getting guys on campus, but even with some of these bigger neutral site games, even though they can't, have contact with the players and really host them, quote unquote, they do get a chance to put their product on the field and let that Georgia fan base be around the team and be around the game day atmosphere. There's a lot of guys already saying they're coming. And Jed, we got some confirmation. We'd already kind of hinted at a big addition to the list a couple weeks ago, but got a little confirmation heading into the show tonight. If you want to share that one.
Yeah, 5-star quarterback Jaden Davis is rumored to be attending the game on Saturday from Charlotte, so not too long of a drive. And yeah, it's like you said, getting the team on the field. Everyone's saying, okay, Georgia needs to show what these receivers can do and put up big numbers for these receivers. The first chance to do that is going to be in 5 days when Georgia faces Oregon and Stetson Bennett, A.D. Mitchell, Ladd McConkey, and those guys are on the field. So Georgia's close strong. I mean, you think about it this time last year, how many guys that ended up in the class weren't on the radar yet or weren't committed. I mean, think Jaheim Singletary, Marvin Jones. I don't know if Julian Humphrey was still committed to Florida at this time last year, but no one knew who Andrew Paul was. So, like you said, Blaine, it's the sweet spot. There's 4 months till December signing date, another couple after that till February, and this is where things really start to pick up for this 23 class, especially for a Georgia program that typically finishes strong.
Trent, how much impact can a neutral site game like this have on somebody? Chris Peel, is it going to be in attendance? Jaden Davis's teammate and a senior defensive back that Georgia's recruiting. So him, a few others, wouldn't be surprised to see someone like a Sammy Brown who lives in state maybe show up. He was at the Clemson game last year. So how much of an impact can these have? I know the defensive lineman, Christian Miller, he had a big impact on him last year. So just kind of talk about that and maybe what they can get from the experience.
Yeah, I think it can have a huge impact. Like we've talked about in the past, most of the time a game day visit is not going to make or break a commitment wise. It's not going to make you turn, the wins or losses, not necessarily going to make you turn when big games like this. But I do think, the atmosphere, it should be, 70-30, 80-20 Georgia, maybe more. That it should be really loud in there with dog fans. The atmosphere is going to be crazy. Just being opening weekend, basically, of college football, it can be big. I mean, it can make a big impact. Kind of sets the standard of what to expect when you're going on these other visits. And I know they're not being able to talk to the coaches, but it's just the atmosphere of a top, tier matchup of top programs. And if Georgia can come out and have a good showing, especially, I think it's going to be, it's going to work out in their favor. But still, I think just the atmosphere alone is going to, push some of these guys, get some momentum in Georgia's corner.
Absolutely. And we're going to touch on many other topics here, when we get to our vault questions. But first, kind of last one here, Jed, you brought up a point about, recruits getting to see what's on the field. Saw some Georgia staffers, support staff, recruiting staff posting on Twitter today and things of that nature that, hey, all these programs, they've been telling you what you're going to see this fall. Now it's time to see who tells the truth, and for Georgia, that works, for them and against them at times, it seems. Defensively, people love what they see. Running backs, tight ends, they love to see. It seems like the wide receivers, the negative recruiting is still kind of killing Georgia right now in terms of that. But, Jed, big opportunity for guys like A.D. Mitchell and Ladd McConkey to really build upon a first year that they had and kind of break through that glass ceiling of 1,000 yards.
Yeah, and it's kind of like what we talked about going into last year. Okay, JT Daniels is back. How much more comfortable is he going to be with a full offseason? Same thing applies now to Stetson Bennett. He's had a full offseason as a starter, another year in Todd Monken's offense, and that should lead to a more wide open attack, right? More deep shots, more maybe more individual big games for receivers that lead to big seasons. And when whatever receivers are going to be in attendance on Saturday or watching the game on TV, the 3:30, I believe that's by far the biggest game on TV at 3:30, that they're going to get a chance to see that. So it's going to be big. Obviously, Kirby doesn't think about making recruiting statements necessarily during the game, but that's going to be a huge benefit if he goes out there and Georgia shows what they can do with this offense.
And I think, just from basically what I've heard is he doesn't look at, like you said, Jed, making in the past, he hasn't looked at that. I think that's changing a little bit. I think that there's a mindset in Athens that is changing in that regard, because I think last year, you get a lead, you see them just kind of run out the clock. You see a backup quarterback come in, just hand the ball off. I think that mindset's changing a little bit, and he knows that that's affecting recruiting.
So who's going to be the Ed Yost on the staff that looks at Kirby and says, "Run it up, Herman, leave no doubt," over there on the sideline? Because I'm telling you, it feels like as nuanced and educated as a fan base may be, and how much people understand, hey, it's all about the W's and things like that. It gets a little less nuanced to some of these recruits. They see a couple of big things. They see points, they see yards, they see dollar signs, they see playing time. Those are the things that they see. Georgia's done a actual really good job of getting young pass catching targets, whether it's tight ends or wide receivers, on the field. I mean, their top three in receptions last year were all freshmen. Either redshirt or true freshmen, in Adonai Mitchell, Ladd McConkey, and Brock Bowers. But it's that production at the wide receiver position. I mean, Brock Bowers went over 800-something yards last year. He's been one of the closest to 1,000 in a while. So, Trent, I think that you're exactly right. I think you're going to see and it's going to be a very interesting dynamic if, let's say, Georgia's up by 21. They're 17 and a half, 18-point favorite. Let's say they're up by 21 in the fourth quarter. Does Kirby say, "Well, that's my buddy over there. That's my guy. I don't want to bury him on his first game," or does he just say, "Listen, I got to get that 5-star recruit, 2 classes from now"? Do you think that creeps into his mind at all?
I mean, I'm sure it does, but this is a business now, and the way recruiting has tilted away from certain things, and with the NIL and stuff, Georgia's got to show, if they're not going to enter the NIL game heavily like some other programs are doing, which is fine, but you've got to show that you can't go 55-45 pass run in the first half and then go 15, 80, 85 pass run in the second half. And I know it's because you're just blowing somebody out, and they can just run the same play over and over and not show anything. But it means something to these recruits when they look at the end and say, "Oh, A.D. Mitchell, he had 4 catches for 84 yards, but it was all in the first half." I mean, if you put that kid on the field for 2 halves, okay, we're looking at 150 yards and 7 receptions, which is looking a whole lot better to recruits. This is all about recruiting now, and I know that Kirby hadn't looked like that in the past. He's like, "Well, it's SEC grind. Let's get in and get out." But you got to. He has to start looking at a different approach from that standpoint. As yes, put your second string quarterback in, put your third string quarterback in, run your offense that you've been running the whole game. Toss the ball around. It's only going to help develop the second string quarterback, third string quarterback, but it's also going to help with your numbers. And I think numbers is what these receivers are looking at.
Yeah, numbers sometimes do lie, huh? That's exactly what's happening here with some of these guys. So we've kind of touched on some of the main topics coming in here. Now let's go ahead and hit some of these questions that we have, and I'm going to take the banner off there so we can go ahead and put this up. Boy Racer right here, Jed, kind of made a similar point to what you had a while ago. So tell us what Boy Racer 45's got for us.
Yeah, a year ago, Michael Williams was committed to USC, Dalen Everett to Clemson, and Marvin Jones Jr. wasn't on our radar. Then we closed on all three. Which prospects do you see potentially being similar this year?
Yeah, so guys that could potentially flip. What do you guys think that could be similar? I know the name that pops off that everybody wants to hear right off the bat is Justice Haynes. They're hoping that Justice Haynes is a guy that kind of like a Michael Williams, a state of Georgia guy, somebody that Georgia thought early on they had kind of wrapped up, and then he goes somewhere else, and there's implications of people saying, well, is it the NIL? Is it early playing time? What is it that's going on? Could be a very similar thing if Del McGee were able to get him late. I think he's kind of locked in Alabama right now. But does anybody else come to mind for you guys?
Let's see. I mean, I think they would still probably recruit Chase Basantis, who's committed to Texas A&M, a lineman they were after for a while. Just like we were just talking about, another lineman to add for depth. He's a good guy. He probably projects as more maybe a guard at the next level. I mean, honestly, just thinking of running backs. Do we think it would maybe be more like, I don't know. I could see Richard Young almost being more likely to flip to Georgia than, not saying that it's likely at all, but I could almost see that more than I could Justice. Almost. It's almost
hard to fathom that Alabama is getting two running backs that caliber in the class. It really is. I know Savannah Dog on the vault. Shout out to Savannah Dog. His world is absolutely in shambles because Richard Young and Justice Haynes are going to Alabama. He can't believe it. So that could be a very interesting scenario there. But Trent, a wide receiver maybe.
Yeah, and the issue is out of the guys you mentioned, Everett and those guys wasn't on our radar. I mean, when we started the fall, so there's guys out there that that Georgia's probably offered. Georgia's probably been in it in the past, but you're going to see a start seeing some movement in some of these other guys that they were on probably back in December, January, that starts popping back up. And Michael Williams we knew about. We actually stuck with we thought Michael Williams would end up at Georgia even when he committed to USC, and a lot of stuff was going on there. We did have a little feeling there that he was going to be in this class, but the other two kind of popped up as the fall went along, and this is why I say a lot of people worry about what takes place in the spring and the summer, but this is a complete different ball game when Kirby's teams take the field. You start seeing what it's like, start seeing what game days are like, start seeing what the product on the field, and you're going to see a lot of movement of guys that are unexpected to us, unexpected to y'all, and we'll start hearing more about that as the fall and the games go on.
Absolutely. I think that there's guys, and let's say that Georgia does end up coming out and Stetson Bennett with a year or two under Todd Monken, as Jed pointed out, and all the tight ends he has, the established receiver targets in Mitchell and McConkey. What if he comes out and has a 3,500 yard season, and I think he threw 29 touchdown passes last year. What if that number encroaches more up towards 40 on the year? You're going to see guys throughout the year, game 7, game 8, around that time say, okay, Georgia really has, they are being more explosive on offense and things of that nature. So I think it's going to take results at the wide receiver position. I don't think Georgia's going to stop recruiting Anthony Evans. Brian McClendon put a lot of time and effort into that one. And Georgia, we said we were going to talk about Georgia, felt very, very good about Anthony Evans. Like, literally the quote that Roddy got from a source was 99% sure it's Georgia. And man, that 1% turned out to be true for Oklahoma and Jed. You know, that didn't occur till late. He was committing at 5 o'clock, 3 o'clock Eastern time is when Georgia and Oklahoma found out that the tide had kind of shifted on that one.
Yeah, and we've made no real secret about it. We had stories ready, we had graphics ready. I mean, we, like you mentioned, Blaine, we'd heard all along for weeks, really. That, I mean, how long had we had that Anthony Evans story ready? A couple, 2-3 weeks at least. So, it happens. There's every kid has their own reasons, and stuff like this happens. But like you said, Georgia's not going to stop recruiting him. There's a kid, Jamiron Dickey, who's a receiver committed to Oregon, who has a Georgia offer. There's guys like that. I think receiver, they're going to target a late flip. Running back, obviously, being that they don't have one committed yet.
Yeah, Roderick Robinson out of that's committed to UCLA out of San Diego. That's definitely one to keep an eye on there. But continue, Jay. Go ahead.
Yeah, just like you said, Roderick Robinson, and I don't really see a quarterback flip probably happening. I think portal's probably more likely there. And yeah, there's all, and like you said, Trent, so many of these guys, like there's a reason y'all weren't hearing much about those guys at this time last year, is because they weren't on our radar either. So we're going to keep an eye on these guys, both guys that have movement, Georgia gets in the page for, and guys that blow up through this fall. So,
and here's the thing: if you think of it like a budget, so to speak, with NIL, right? If teams have a budget, if the collectives have a budget, maybe some of these schools who've used up the allotment early on, and Georgia hasn't necessarily broke the bank to get in some of their guys. Maybe that there's a little bit room left at the end. And Kirby Smart, even without the NIL era, has always pulled in some surprises late. So I don't expect this one to be different. All right, let's see what we've got here on our next question here. Elko Dog.
Yeah, Elko Dog. Any insight to why Georgia hasn't offered Jamiron Wilcox yet?
Okay, so I went and saw Jamiron Wilcox play on Friday night versus Juju Lewis. And Jamiron Wilcox ripped off a 56-yard touchdown run, had a couple other long runs. He is a very good player, does not have an offer from Georgia right now, but mainly because I think, we're in the official offer time here, Trent. If you offer somebody, it's got to be a committable offer. And I just feel like right now there is maybe an eye towards that future, like I'm talking about with the transfer portal, and thinking, okay, we have to assess what's out there in the high school class right now versus is it going to be better than the crop of guys in the transfer portal this offseason.
Yeah, and I think you get to a point, and we've talked about this in the past with in-state guys, is there's a chance you send out an offer. There's a chance of an immediate commitment, and are they ready to commit to that guy? And when you go through that and you have something that was to pop up late, maybe one of those Alabama commitments want to jump on board. Maybe Roderick wants to flip. Then you have to worry about burning bridges inside your own state and making that decision if you are not going to take him. So I think they're going about it the right way. They want to be sure this is the choice for them with these in-state guys. They want to be sure, and I think they'll continue to evaluate Wilcox, and that'll go on in the fall. And an offer could come, and I'm not saying it won't. I'm just saying that I think they're going to take their time with this offer and make sure that it's a right fit and before they send it out.
He's a good player, though. I was impressed. Friday night he did some good stuff in pass protection. Had a couple long runs. Did have to come off the field a few times. A little bit winded, but it's early in the season. Getting those reps, getting that game shape back in. But no, I think Wilcox is a fine athlete. But we'll see what ends up happening with his future and with the future at Georgia at running back in the class of 2023. I'm going to just read this one off, Jed, so we don't have to put it on the screen here. Medical Dog, he says, is this the perfect time to panic? So is this the perfect time to panic? I think that question was written before Monroe Freeling committed to Georgia this afternoon on the vault, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you can, justify panic with Kirby Smart at the helm, so far in his career at Georgia recruiting wise, Jed.
Yeah, I mean, I get why people would want to panic because there's not a running back committed. All these receivers are going elsewhere. But like you said, there's so much time, for Georgia to hit one of these guys. Hakeem Williams, Tyler Williams is committing in, I guess, probably 3 weeks or so. We feel like Georgia's in a good spot there. So there's so much time for guys like we were just talking about to come out of nowhere and emerge as guys. I mean, again, I keep going back to Andrew Paul. No one knew who he was until February last year, and he was having a great camp, it sounded
until
like.
2 days before signing day.
Last week, I believe. As you guys turned into black screens with little spinning circles there. Yeah, there's too much stuff going on. I get why people would want to panic, but until things get a little bit later in the cycle and the season starts going on, I don't think panic is necessarily warranted.
A commitment is not a signature, and I think that's what people look at. They're committing elsewhere, but I've had some talks in the past week of 2 or 3 5-star prospects that they do not feel that they will end up at the school they are committed to, and it's just the way that what year we're living in and the way commitments go, but there's no signatures. So everything's still fair game. All Georgia commitments, all these other guys, they're still fair game. And I think you're going to see a lot of movement within classes. And I'm not necessarily that's going to benefit Georgia in them. Will it? I don't know. But there's going to be a lot of movement and Georgia's always seemed to reap, the benefits towards November and December.
Absolutely. And speaking of panicking, we do want to mention once again, you don't have to panic if you go with Auto Owners Insurance, powered by Turner Wood & Smith Insurance Agency. They are the sponsor. Hey, look, we got an NIL deal. Red Womack pointed out on YouTube. We got an NIL deal here on Rumors versus Facts. Both over 100 years old. Great service. Like I said, this morning, my wife needs a new windshield and called up Turner Wood & Smith Agency. They got the claim submitted, everything set up for me. Going to have that thing redone on Friday. So Auto Owners Insurance and Turner Wood & Smith, both over 100 years old. And we're proud that they are sponsoring UGA Sports Rumors versus Facts. So guys, had to give another shout out to our sponsor there, but we have a couple more questions here. Let's try to run through these. J-Doggy says, do you guys foresee the offensive side of this class turning around before early signing day? I think we've already kind of addressed that one. We've hit that there's going to be there's likely to be a flip here or there, especially at one either or probably of the skill positions, receiver or running back, maybe even an offensive lineman. But, I don't think you're going to see quarterbacks. I think we can move on from that one. We've got one here, and I'll go ahead and put this one on the screen just so we don't have to, so we can all see it. Dirty Low Country Dog says, who might be some of the players we're looking at to flip at signing day? We've already talked about that. Never mind. That was the wrong question. Let's go with C-Buck 11. What type of prospects does UGA look for at offensive line? Freeling seems very long. However, he's not heavy. We talked about this a little bit earlier, Trent, in terms of, he's going to add weight and stuff like that. But is there a transition now? Or are we still trying to figure out what Stacey Searles is looking for? Because under Sam Pittman, there was one common theme. Find the biggest guy you can absolutely find. Somebody's going to just move somebody from point A to point B. Kirby Smart still talks about having mass, in press conferences and things like that. But what do you think Georgia's keys are when they're looking for offensive linemen?
Yeah, I don't think it's like it was when they had Sam Pittman. I think that's moved a little bit because they were more of I guess their offensive scheme was more a power run, and they wanted those big guys up front. But now it's kind of shifted. They're running a lot of wide receiver screens. They're running a lot of stuff where offensive linemen got to get out and get downfield and block. And I think they're looking for the more athletic. They're still looking for mass. Don't get me wrong, because Kirby's still if it's 3rd and 1, you better dang sure he's yelling in his headset to run the damn ball. That's just the way he is. But they're still looking for mass, but they're looking for athletes. They're looking for athletes at the position. And I know I've been told this in the past that he looks for guys that can dunk a basketball, offensive linemen that are athletic on the basketball court. He looks for those type of guys, and the guys like Broderick Jones, the guys like Amarius Mims, the guys that are obviously they come in a little slim, like what Georgia's landed today, but guys that can develop and get out on screens and get out on outside runs and make blocks downfield. I think that's what they're looking for, to go a little bit more up tempo and not have to worry about taking offensive linemen out. So.
Absolutely. I think that stamina, even on both sides of the ball, the trenches are changing now. That was one thing that people were talking about after the SEC championship game on the defensive side. Oh, can Jordan Davis be on the field versus Alabama because he looked gassed and all that kind of stuff. And I think it is changing on both sides of the ball in the trenches. You got to be definitely big, but you got to be lean, and you got to be able to kind of keep that motor going, as one of the old football cliches is there. So, yeah, for sure. I think that is evolving, and it's not just a certain person style. It's just how football is evolving as well. These real quick, we'll hit. OU Hirschwartz said, did you watch any of the high school games on ESPN this weekend? Didn't. I was really focused in on college games, watching that dumpster fire over in Dublin for Nebraska. I'm surprised they brought Scott Frost back on the plane with them. And then, did UGA ever recruit Mark Fletcher? Jetty's a running back committed to Ohio State. He had an offer from Georgia. I don't think it ever got very serious because, like I said, Justice Haynes and Richard Young were the main guys that they were really looking at there. Colin Simmons, not so much either. So I think those are guys that were kind of out of it.
I believe Colin Simmons I think he's referencing the 2024 edge defensive end type, unless there's a different Colin Simmons out there. I know Georgia is in it for him. He has an offer. He was the number 1 player in 24. He dropped down to number 4
and changed down.
Yeah,
but I don't think there's anything imminent there right now.
No,
it's just in the early stages with him.
He was supposed to visit in the summer. I'm not sure if he made it to Athens or not. He's a Texas guy, so you obviously look at Texas A&M, Oklahoma, schools like that. Georgia's recruiting him. There's still a long way to go there, but a name to know for sure. But like you said, nothing imminent. Wouldn't say Georgia is the favorite or even necessarily a favorite for him right now.
Yeah, Jeb, we got something from Speedy Dog here.
Yeah, who does Georgia really want number 1 at quarterback in the 24 class? Are the coaches going to put all the marbles in one bag again like Arch? And when will this guy commit?
Yeah, I don't think that the coaches can afford, Trent, to put all the marbles in one bag, so to speak. I think Julian Sayin and Jaden Davis both have to get a really hard look in this class. My opinion is that Jaden Davis is the one they want more. But, I'd love to hear what you guys think on the situation.
Yeah, we looked at it. We talked about this when the Arch situation, and I said they could afford to put all their eggs in Arch's basket and miss on him and be okay. And with the quarterback staying on campus, they can't afford to do that in the next class, in the 24 class, because there's a bigger need at the position. They didn't really have the need at that position in this class because of what they've recruited the past couple of years. But they do have that need in 24, and I think you'll see a different approach because they knew what they had on campus when they were recruiting Arch, and they still took their shot. And although they missed, it was okay because they didn't have to have a backup plan. That I think you'll see a different approach, but I do think Jaden Davis is the number 1 guy, the number 1 target, and I do think there's a couple other Sayin and those guys. I think they're on the radar, but I do think looking at the number 1 guy is him.
Another thing that we don't talk about a whole lot is that because it's a rather new concept, Jed, there's some 2025 guys that I'm hearing, I can't say their names because they've kind of asked not to, but there's some 2025 quarterbacks that may be thinking about reclassifying to 2024. So then it comes, okay, how much do you like this quarterback over the one that's currently in the class, and where do they stand, things of that nature. So this reclassification deal is going to become a bigger and bigger issue as time goes forward, I believe.
Yeah, and we've already seen that with a 24 guy they had, Tavante Mizell. Reclassification to 23 is still on the table for him as well. So, like you said, Trent, Georgia's not going all in on one guy. They're saying there's Davis, they're recruiting DJ Lagway as well. I know Todd Monken's been to see him practice a couple times. There's somebody else that a small brain can't remember right now. But point is, they're not going all on one guy. The way the timelines look right now, it looks like Sayin is probably going to commit first. He's looking at early October. Davis, I don't think anything would be coming with him until the new year at least. So I think if Sayin wanted to jump on board, they'd take him and be done with it. But Dylan Raiola, that's the one. I'm sure Georgia's going to keep after Dylan Raiola as well. But yeah, it's like a 1A, 1B thing. I think Davis might be the one slightly higher on the list, but if Sayin wants to go ahead and jump on board, they'd have no problem taking him.
Marlon Green makes a good point. Definitely need Davis. Next class recruits will follow him. The thing about Jaden Davis is that he is from the North Carolina area. So much, I know that Georgia recruits national now, but I mean, having somebody from the Southeast, that kind of thing, to be the so-called leader of a class could have an impact as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how the quarterback situation plays out. That's always the big one, right? Is what's going to happen. Everybody was honed in on Arch. It came down to Georgia and Texas. We all know that he ended up going with the Longhorns. So now Georgia has to bounce back in the class of 2024. Can't afford to miss two classes in a row at quarterback. That's not a good thing. We'll take a couple more questions here on YouTube. Any of you guys in the YouTube comments want to throw anything in there, we'll take some of those before we get out of here. But Jed, Trent, anything coming up, anything that we need to be on the lookout for? I know guys committing next. I know Tyler Williams is going to be making a decision on September 27th. I believe, I'm not sure if there's anybody, scheduled in between now and then. So it seems like that might be the next guy out there, Jed.
Yeah, I think something to watch this week is September 1st, and coaches can start reaching out to 2024 prospects directly. We'll be watching Twitter because these guys are all posting. These coaches, these recruiting staffs, not even coaching staff, send out edits. They're calling guys. You got multiple coaches calling guys. We were just talking about, I'm sure Jaden Davis and Julian Sayin are going to have Georgia coaches hitting them up right at midnight, or I wonder if Julian Sayin, if it's midnight Eastern time or Pacific time, but anyway, doesn't matter. That if Georgia needs to have somebody stay up till 3 a.m. to text Julian Sayin, they will. But that's going to be interesting.
I'm sure
there's a time zone of wherever.
I'm sure that all the rules are being followed to the T by all of these schools. So
nobody's talking to 24 prospects at all. I mean,
nobody's talking to them right now. I mean, they probably locked their number in a vault like it was a chastity belt or something over there, just so they didn't, accidentally call someone. It's just crazy stuff right there. But Fred says, were you guys shocked about the Evans decision? I mean, I don't know if shocked is the word, because you kind of expect the unexpected now in recruiting, but I 100% thought he was going there. I talked to the young man 2 days before his commitment, and man, without saying 100%, I'm going to Georgia. He was certainly talking up, and I gave him every opportunity to talk up Oklahoma, and it didn't occur that way. So it seemed like it to me. We had sources inside of Georgia thinking the exact same, that he was headed to Georgia. So yeah, it was a pretty big departure from what we expected right there at the end. A little hypothetical on the Texas end. Trent, Ewers was a perfect 1,000 recruit. Would Manning stay? I guess he's meaning if Quinn Ewers, decided to, played well this year, and then of course he'll be there for one more year. If Ewers beats out Manning next year in the spring when they play, I mean, do you think that's going to have any impact on him, or does he kind of expect to sit for a year?
I don't think it's going to have an impact one way or the other, because I think Ewers, if he has a good year this year, and then he's going into his third year, and I guess Manning would be his freshman year, he would have the chance to take over his sophomore year. So I don't really see it being a big impact. Most of these kids, and I think Arch had said it in the past, that he's okay with sitting as a freshman. He's not one of those kids that expects to just come in and earn a starting position as a freshman. So I think it would be a situation where he would sit for a year behind Ewers and then take over the year later. Now, will Ewers have the year everybody's expecting? That's to be determined, because I'm still not sold that Texas is going to be very good. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, for sure. Jerry Dogs fan says, where is UGA with Quay Russaw and James Smith? Did a stock analysis not too long ago, Jed, said that things were kind of trending down with Russaw and Smith. As of right now, I would expect him to end up elsewhere. But I will say this, Jed, there's long tradition there. There's long tradition there when it comes to Kirby Smart and Glenn Schumann in that Montgomery area. The guys, that Quay Russaw and James Smith train with, they're very close to them. So, I wouldn't count Georgia out of it, but it seems like that's maybe trending in the opposite direction right now.
Yeah, it's one of those recruitments that's got a long way to go, because there's all the smoke with them about like being the package deal that's actually a package deal, right? And Georgia is one of the schools that's, I would say, Georgia's in it for both of them. But like you said, there's Auburn, there's Alabama, there's Florida, there's if I'm not mistaken, Ohio State is in it with them.
Florida and Ohio State and Alabama all are really heavily kind of in a mix for those right there. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Georgia would have to lean on every bit of their connections to the Montgomery area, I think, to pull that one out. But I don't think you're going into, just being candid, I don't think you're going into the state of Alabama anymore under the new structure of recruiting without having a pretty decent NIL package lined up. So we'll see what has to come out there. So it's going to be interesting to see if they stay in it with Russaw and Smith. And then last one here, Ted says Samuel Mpemba will be a dog. Trent, I think Georgia has a really good shot with Samuel Mpemba, especially Gabe Harris, Georgia commit, now a teammate of his at IMG.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been. I guess it's been Georgia's been kind of trending there for a while, but I think Georgia sits in a very good spot. You're not going to hear one way. I think he's going to take his visits in the fall. Continue to evaluate the process, but I do think Georgia's the team to beat moving into September.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we've kind of covered it all. We'll have this show available, full replay on UGAsports.com tomorrow. We'll also have it on the podcast feed as well. We're going to have we had this week already come out our Fall in the Future, where we keep up with prospects on Friday nights. I guess that's something we can touch on real quick before we head off here. I'm going to see St. Pius travel to Jefferson to watch Sammy Brown over there. And also Jefferson's got a couple other younger guys that are starting to make some noise over there. So good Jefferson program. Where are you guys headed this Friday night to go watch prospects?
I think I'm going to North Cobb Buford. Me and Trent took in that matchup last year and saw guys like Denylon Morissette, Marquise Groves Killebrew, Isaiah Bond, a big game last year. A guy I'm interested to see is David, I believe it's Ezio Mume. I'm not sure, from North Cobb. He's listed as all-purpose back on Rivals. Has a Georgia offer. I know Georgia had been in contact. To be honest, I haven't checked in with him in a while, but I wonder if that's another guy Georgia could kick the tires on at running back in 23. So plan on getting some film with him. And then, of course, you got Buford with all these, I mean, from a Georgia perspective, 24 guys. King Joseph Edwards has a shoulder injury. He's out, but you've got Jaden Perlotti at 25, linebacker KJ Bolden, someone people want to know about, Edric Houston, all these guys. So, yeah, that should be a good one.
Trent, you got a game you're going to head to?
I'm just waiting for Jed to tell me where to go. So I'm just waiting for the ball.
Our national recruiting analyst will tell us where to go.
People call your people.
Absolutely. So real-time negotiation here on this stuff. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in to UGA Sports Rumors versus Facts, presented by Auto Owners Insurance in partnership with Turner Wood & Smith Insurance Agency. So thank you for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and tune into it's game week. So tune in to Coach Donnan and Roddy and Dane tomorrow on UGA Sports Live. We'll catch you guys next time on UGA Sports Rumors versus Facts.